Hi, this is Kalyan. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a pop-up in Xcelsius 2008. All we need to create a pop-up effect in Xcelsius is a push button. Make sure that you have Service Pack 3 installed because push button comes as a part of a new component in Service Pack 3. So in this example, I'm going to use a scorecard component, a chart for the pop-up effect, the push button to create the functionality, and a background component to fade off the application when the pop-up is the point of focus. The underlying data which I'm using is a simple crosstab data with months going down and regions going across, which I already mapped to the scorecard component. I have a display status key where I have a formula which says if cell B2 length is more than 0 or it's not equal to 0, then give me a true or give me a false. It's a boolean, so give me a true or false. And I have a chart subtitle which picks up the sales number for the month which is selected from cell B2 again. So this is our data, and we just seen what are the components. So first let's go ahead and configure the components. First up, our base application in this case is the scorecard component. So I'm going to select the scorecard component, go to its properties, and select the insertion type as row, give the source data as the source data, which is starting from February to ends in February again, and don't select the header. And the destination is going to be the yellow cells for the insertion. Now we need to make sure that no rows are selected on load. So for that we go to behavior and selected item as no selection. So you can see that none of the rows are selected on load. Now the second item we need to configure is the chart, which we are going to use as a pop-up. We're going to add the subtitle. We're going to bind it to a chart subtitle cell, which we already configured here on our spreadsheet. And we add a series and give the series name as the month name and the values as the inserted values from the scorecard. And the category labels as the region labels. Now that my chart is configured as a pop-up, I need to set up some dynamic visibility to it so that it appears when the user clicks on any row on the scorecard. So when the user clicks on any row of the scorecard, it's going to populate the yellow cells. For that, we have the pop-up display status as true or false. So if the first yellow cell B2 is populated with the month name, give me a true or give me a false. So we're going to set the dynamic visibility of the pop-up, which is the chart. Go to behavior, go to the bottom of the behavior tab, select the status cell as cell J3, and in our case the key is going to be true. Now we're going to set up the push button dynamic visibility and also configure it. Before that, I'd like to do a small preview. So right now, nothing is selected, so I don't see the chart, but once I select something, the chart is going to appear. Now what we need to achieve is to disappear the chart when we hit the push button. So for that, we just configure the push button to clear the yellow cells on click. So select the push button, go to general, and I'm gonna leave the source data empty and give the destination as the yellow cells. So there's no source, so when I click on it, it's gonna empty whatever is there in the yellow cells. Let's do a small test. So on load, nothing is selected, no chart. Select a month, the chart appears for that particular month, and when I hit the push button, which I configure it to clear the cells, the chart is going to disappear. So again select a row from the scorecard, it's going to pop up the chart. Clear. So if you observe, we have just created a pop-up. We just need to organize all the components so that we can give the effect of a pop-up. Now the background component, why do we have it there? Just to fade out the background, that is the base application. In this case, it's a scorecard, so that we get the pop-up effect. Let's do it now. So let's quickly go to our canvas only mode. I'm gonna make my background the same size as my scorecard, for which I use the make same size heart button there, and I'm gonna overlay my scorecard with the background, and I'm gonna put the chart in the middle of the background and the push button on the top right corner of the chart. Now to give it a pop-up effect, I'm gonna change the label of the push button to simple X. For me, it's the letter X. For a pop-up, it's the close symbol, and I'm gonna make it short so that it gives me an effect of a close symbol, close icon. Now if I go back to my workspace, all I need to do is make sure that the push button and the background also appears when the pop-up appears, or else just don't display. So I'm gonna select the push button, set the display status as the same as the pop-up, and give the key as true, and the background as the same as the pop-up again, and give it as true again. Now let's see what happens. I see the application, that is the scorecard for me. Click on a month, the pop-up appears, close it. Click on a month again, the pop-up again appears. So we just created a pop-up. There's one last step. I set my transparency to the background. Let's give it a 30. I'm gonna set the transparency to 30 so that it gives you a feel of the actual pop-up, and let's do a preview. Click. I still see the background, so it indicates that it's a pop-up. So when you close the pop-up, you go back to the application, click again, and you see the pop-up. There's one last thing to do. If you observe, I can still click the scorecard. In order to avoid that, go back to your background properties and make sure that you check block mouse events. The reason I used a background instead of a rectangle component is this feature, which is missing in the rectangle component. So I use block mouse events and do a preview now. And there you go. You click on it, and if you try to go to the base application while the pop-up is active, the block mouse event property will not allow the user to do that unless you close the pop-up. So there it is. Feel free to post any comments. If you have any questions, use the comment section to shout it out. Thanks for watching.